DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The Celtics are in town. The question of the morning, will Danny Ray Ainge recapture the magic he had with Boston here in lovely Salt Lake City? Oh, they're hot takes, PK. A lot of people think he's toast. It's brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Will he recapture the magic? Mark, no. Ben, no. Brad, not a chance. Patrick, no. Sue, I don't see it happening. The negativity is rock solid amongst the faithful this morning.
So he'll be 65 on Sunday, I think it's the 17th. He's a St. Patrick's Day birthday boy. So he's getting up there in Ainge. And he's still working hard. He's in Vegas. See him this time of year in Vegas. Many times that I've been to Vegas for the multiple conference tournaments. As there's 4 conferences playing there now. At least one more year until the Pac-12 goes away, and maybe the Big 12 will move west. We'll see if they ever move out of Kansas City. I don't know about that. But he's out there scouting, doing his thing. I know he's there this year. So I wouldn't put it past him, but I think that it would be like a dream come true. And sometimes once we go with the word dream, we just inherently introduce the word long shot when we put it as a dream. You know, how many times do dreams actually come true? I mean, literally, not something that you dream about when you're sleeping. I'm talking about Jazz fans dreaming of an NBA title, right? Because if you're a whatever fan, your goal is to have that team win whatever it is, the highest level that they can do it. And obviously for the NBA fan and the Jazz fan in particular, it's the NBA title. And it seems like a long shot because it's never happened. I get it. But can it happen? Yes.
Yes, but the question wasn't can. The question is will. Recapture the magic. Will there be?
It's a long shot. I get that.
Will there be bold trades where he wins? That's what we haven't had yet. The bold trade. I mean, we've had trades.
I think he's had multiple bold trades. Are you kidding
because
me?
you're talking about the teardown. Those were bold. Yeah. Yeah, the teardown was bold. But where you trade down from the first to the third pick and still get one of the top 5 or 10 players in the NBA.
I mean, he's already had bold trades, so I mean, you could define bold however you want. But he's already had it.
The bold trade that makes the Jazz better. How about that for defining it? The bold trade that wins the Jazz another 10 or 15 games.
I don't know that you're going to have the answer to that in just a year.
Steve says Danny Ainge has had 2 years to improve this team that he claims had no chemistry. He made us infinitely worse, and then those guys gelled and were fun to watch because of how hard they played, despite the fact they were losing. Then he trades the glue and the hustle, Kelly O and Ochai, and is ushered in tank mode. Go back to Beantown, Danny boy. You were Utah's favorite son in the early 80s. Now you're the redheaded stepchild. Well, how's that? Yock's in there laughing.
I don't know that trading Ochai is anything.
The hustle? Okay, well, look at those shooting numbers and tell me that.
Numbers.
Well, he didn't say shooting. He said hustle.
Great.
They don't give you points for hustling.
He purposely,
give you points
but I think they only give you points for points.
Right, exactly. They give you points for shooting.
But, the idea of 5 shooters on the floor, that is so overblown to me. That just means no offensive rebounding and no defense. You need some guys who are role players and can provide toughness and all that stuff. Not saying that Obagi does that, but I think that's important. I think a guy like Royce O'Neal does that. And they got rid of him, too. So they got rid of pretty much everybody, obviously, in their mastermind plan. But has he won any of these trades? It's an incomplete.
Got all those draft picks sitting out there until you see who they draft or who they trade those picks for to get a veteran, maybe. Yeah, it's incomplete.
Right.
But people don't want incomplete, and they don't want a 4 or 5 year rebuild, which is what they fear right now.
Okay, so at the end of the 4 or 5 years, if you had stayed with the other guys, would you have had a title?
I believe the answer to that question is no.
So then what's the difference?
It would have been more fun, followed by frustration in May or June.
Well, you anticipate more fun. You can't say it as if it's a fact.
That's true. More time together, maybe relationships would have frayed more. Could have gotten uglier, and things could have really melted down. Who knows? I mean, you can sit
in
here
my mind, the thing that maybe they could have done, and obviously they did, and so it doesn't matter, is get rid of Mitchell.
Yeah.
He wanted out.
He
so
wanted
there was
out.
no
Right.
rule that you had to get rid of everybody else along with Mitchell.
Right. Keep everybody else and change the chemistry by trading him. You get a haul from him. If you had made the Cleveland trade and it was Markkanen, how good would they have been? With Markkanen and Bogey shooting and Joe back after he rehabbed his knee and
Yeah, well, you probably don't
Rudy
keep
in there
everybody.
anchoring the D.
I don't know that you would have kept the natural evolution of a team is that changes are made every year anyway. And so once you get 2 years removed, you're probably not having the same group of guys minus Mitchell plus Markkanen. I mean, I get the Joe Ingles trade. You're asking somebody to go pay some money in a luxury tax for no reason. I mean, it's easy for us to say because it's not our money. And the guy's got tons of money, so he should finance his own ballpark. He should build his own freeway to the ballpark, and he should do everything because he's got his own money. I mean, so that's the common refrain that you hear. So I get the Ingles thing, and there would have been trades. There would have been moves, I should say, and maybe trades, but there would have been natural evolutionary moves that all NBA teams make. But that's the idea. You could have kept Gobert as a defensive anchor. I mean, last year, we got Kessler, and he's way cheaper than Gobert. Well,
he's barely getting on the floor.
Kessler's not even in the same arena, ballpark, or however you want to phrase it, as Gobert.
And you can tell that.
And that's what Ainge was telling us last year at the end of the season meeting. He basically said that, let's pump the brakes on this guy. And he was right.
The coach doesn't want to play him 30 minutes a game. If he had Gobert's impact, the coach would play him 30 minutes a game. But he doesn't, so he won't.
Yeah, and he still is a young pup, so Gobert didn't have that impact when Gobert had it. I mean, when he was Kessler's age. It took him a while before he got to the level that he was able to impact games. So that's, in a sense, before we just cast aside Kessler as garbage, let's see if there's something there to develop.
And as far as holding on with Gobert, who did have his fans, how far can you go paying a center $40 million, $41 this year, who isn't much of a scoring threat and you got to work around offensively? He's great defensively, but how far can you go with that? And I know the Timberwolves are in the top spot for a lot of the West, and both years Karl Anthony Towns has been hurt. He's out again now. But they've sunk to third. And who would you take right now in a Minnesota-Phoenix first-round playoff series?
Well, I mean, they said Towns might come back. So
right. And will the Phoenix
see.
Big Three be healthy? There's all kinds of questions about who would actually play if those two teams met.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't emphatically say Phoenix.
But
that's the point of seeing where you're going with that, but I can't say that.
The point is, with Gobert getting that much money and providing that little offense in an era when offense is so important, is his team capable of doing more than one or two rounds in the playoffs? Because that's what his team was doing in Utah, and that may be how it plays out for his team in Minnesota.
You're right. And once you use the word maybe, that also introduces plenty of other alternatives. I don't know. I mean, your line of thought is making it sound like you don't believe it can happen.
I don't think they're going to be in the conference final. I really don't think they're going to be in the NBA finals, but I don't think they're going to be in the conference final.
Yeah, but then you wanted Ainge to be making bold moves, and then Minnesota makes a bold move, and you think it stinks.
It isn't going to be enough. Really, what Jazz fans want is to get back to a Western Conference final. And it's what Jay-Z said he wanted. And they seem a long way from it, and that's why I think we have the negative responses we have this morning.
Well,
They've been to one conference final in 25 years.
The goal isn't the conference final, is it?
No, but at least that puts you in the lead and gives you a fighting chance. Not only have they not won the title, last 25 years they haven't really been that close. If you're not in a conference final, how close are you?
Okay, what's your point?
There's built-up frustration, and people are taking out 25 years on Ainge. They're going to celebrate the 2010s decade, but they didn't make a single conference final in that decade. And they missed the playoffs, I think, more than they made them.
I don't know why we're going back 15, 20 years. What difference does that make?
Because Ainge tore it down and he hasn't built anything, and so going forward, we're all sitting here waiting. And maybe we're only going to wait.
What does that have to do with 2010?
Maybe we're only going to wait 2 years. Because there's built-up frustration over a lack of results.
Well, but then they haven't won the title, so there's a lack of results, just as there is in most places in the NBA. It's heavily stacked against you. So they're no different. That's you got the Clippers, you got Phoenix, you got on and on. Does Portland count when they had one 47 years ago? Then they have frustration. Everybody's got frustration. Once you become a sports fan, you're going to have frustration. How's that any different? And so that puts them in the unique category of all sports fans ever born. Frustration.
Sure, but some of the hard-to-win places have won. Cleveland and Toronto and Milwaukee and Denver. Those are all hard-to-win places, and they've all won titles in the last few years.
Right. Get better players, and then you go. And we understand the premise is to be able to, and then get fortunate that the other team gets an injury or two in the final, and you're good to go.
Thank you, Toronto.
And so you've won the one time, and that's it. So then you're good. You'll never have frustration again for the rest of your life because you got that one. And 1 year becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes 15, becomes 20. I mean, come on. How many times is Toronto going to win titles in the rest of your life?
One.
Stockton said there's joy in the journey, and I agree with him.
That comes down to, yes, there's frustration, but there's hope along the way. And so probably part of this equation is there's no hope today.
Right. So then that alleviates frustration, so you're better off.
No, it's just a different flavor of frustration. I don't even have hope. Yeah, it's a different flavor of frustration.
Hope. You know what hope is? Hope is delayed disappointment. That's all hope is.
Well, I think sports fans have paid a lot for delayed disappointment over the years. Because exactly your point. They put 8, 16, in the case of the NCAA tournament, 68 teams in a tournament, and then one team gets to lift the trophy, and everybody else has delayed disappointment.
Yeah, I think you're. I mean, for me, it's easier to say because I'm not that hardcore. You're a lunchbox guy, and it's a frustration. Are they really that frustrated where it's gnawing at them day after day after day after day? It's sports. If it's not fun, what's the point? All you got, if you're that frustrated, then boom, just eliminate it, and you don't have to worry about it.
Robert, can only hope as of right now. Jazz fans have very little hope of anything.
That's so ridiculous.
He doesn't have hope. Robert's at the point where he hopes to have hope one day. He doesn't have hope today, but he hopes that one day he can. Because if he gave it up, like you said, he wouldn't be posting on our Facebook page.
Right. We've created this alternate universe that if Danny Ray didn't do this, boy, things would be so much sweeter. I just don't see it. I mean, it could have happened, but we're going on a lot of assumption here that all these things would have been what they were. Instead of blaming it on Danny Ray, how about blaming it on on Mitchell, who wanted out because he was so exhausted, or just whatever word it used. I mean, he just could barely breathe because he spent his life on social media, and somebody in Timbuktu, Utah, criticized him about one of his opinions. Oh, draining. Was that the word? Was that the word?
I think it was draining.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And now everything he says is just taken as that's right from God himself. I mean, that's just, how do you argue with that? I mean, why don't we take the frustration out on him?
Well, they did for a while, but now they moved on.
Well, they did. Well, I don't know who did. I mean, we were basically told we had to give him a standing ovation when he came back. We were ordered.
Because I think the Jazz got a lot of they saw a lot of negativity on social media, and they probably got letters, emails, whatever.
All this stupid freaking
old school
social
snail
media
mail.
just dictates life. And we catered and coddled to this guy like he was a combination of Jordan, Magic, Bird, Kareem, Bill Russell.
And Jokic.
If you want to put in Jokic today, I'm fine with that because he belongs in that category. It certainly looks like in 10 years we'll have undisputed evidence that he'll be in that category. So I agree with you there. And rather than go after this management team, why don't we go after him? But we can't because we know why. We can't do that. We can't. We got to treat him, even though he's doesn't play for us anymore and he's 1,000 miles away. We got to cheer him. We got to stand up and give him a standing ovation every time. Hey, who the hell is he that he's got to be treated like that?
A guy who's about to leave Cleveland for New York.
Yeah. How come instead of doing the frustration at the management, how about the frustration the other way? Maybe there's something to be said for that.
Well, they're watching the trades now. He's moved on. I mean, he was a source. I mean, he was a target, not a source, but a target for people while he was here.
Right, but what wasn't management's hands tied?
As far as trading him? Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he had to be traded. I think it's a good thing they traded him. I think if they'd waited to trade him, they would have gotten less for him because it would have been less leverage. His impending move to New York, which everybody thinks he's going to do. I mean, when Joe Ingles was on with us last time, he said, I don't know when he's going to go there, but he's going to go there at some point. I mean, he may be able to go as a free agent. He might be able to force his way there with a trade earlier. I get Joe's point. There's no point in trying to predict a date on when it's going to happen. But it's going to happen.
And you believe that Gobert is overpaid
relative to what he can provide, right?
Then shouldn't have been the frustration at the prior management. Why are we dumping on Ainge? Because according to you, that was the wrong move, giving him all that money.
Yeah, it tied their hands and put a ceiling on him. Which is why I don't agree with Tyson, who says the Jazz need to fire Danny and bring back Dennis Lindsey. You've committed to it now. There's no point in Ryan Smith second-guessing himself and making a move now. Ainge with the teardown and the rebuild, you got to let it play out and see what he's going to accomplish over 3, 4, 5 years.
Well, it's basically Ryan Smith's decision to tear down. That's where the buck stopped.
He probably knew what Ainge's plan was when he hired Ainge. You're right. We didn't hear it, but plenty of people suspected it. And it didn't take us very long. I don't know the timeline exactly. I have to think about that. But I don't think either one of us were terribly surprised. I mean, along the way, you heard, everybody thinks this is going to happen. And sure enough, it did.
To this extent, I wasn't sure.
That they were going to...
I didn't know that till I was told on Cinco de Mayo 2 years ago.
Cinco de Mayo, you knew for sure. Yeah, they're going to blow it up. But even before that, you had an idea that they weren't going to keep it all together. You may not have known they were going to tear it all down.
Well, we knew that Mitchell wanted out.
Right.
And he did it in a classy way, I guess. So instead of whining publicly like Carmelo Anthony or somebody else.
Yeah. Did they get,
the net
more draft
result
picks?
Was the same.
He's gone. That's the net result.
Yeah.
But did they get more draft picks? Because I think the whole league knew. He didn't put him in a public relations vice, but he didn't keep it a secret either.
Well, the net was the same thing. He protected his image. Let's just call it like it is. I mean, that's why he did what he did. And he played it smart. Good for him. He played it the way he wanted.
And the Jazz didn't just get the leverage because of the way he played it, although that probably helped. They also got the leverage because they had more than one bidder.
Well, and plus he was young enough, and he still had multiple years to
left.
Go. I think that's where they got it.
That gave him
if it would
leverage
have been
too.
in his final year or final 2 years, that would have been another story.
Exactly. Which is why the decision to trade him when they did, instead of kicking the can down the road, was a good idea. Because you're right. Every time a year comes off that contract, they're losing leverage.
Yeah. Basically, every time a trading period comes and goes, which is the trade deadline and then the summer. Those are basically your two trading periods. So we all support that, absolutely. And under the circumstances, I think they did pretty well. And now we'll see going forward. The thing about it is all these draft picks are so far freaking in the future.
But they're not going to use all. They're not going to use all the draft picks. It will take a long time to judge them, but some of those draft picks are going to be traded for veterans. There's no way.
Not all of them.
I agree
I'll
with
stand
not all
by
of
my
them.
statement.
Not all of
some
them.
Of these draft picks are so far in the future. They'll have these draft picks so far in the future.
So the guy the guy who's drafted with one of those picks they acquire in 2029, when he's 5 years into his career, and that 19-year-old is 24, and we start to get an idea of what might be doing in the playoffs and all that, is 2034. And you and I aren't doing this show.
Oh, I'm dead by then.
A decade from now.
Oh, I'm dead. Yeah, I'm dead.
And even then, that player will still only be 24.
And nobody will remember me in 2024 or 2034. And that's the way I want it.
Jake Hatch will. He'll remember you.
Nah, I'll be old news. I'm old news now. Being old news, of course, I'll be way old. Life goes on, man.
That's true.
Nobody's irreplaceable.
Fact.
I don't kid myself.
Fact. All right, DJ and PK.
I'm looking at you, Yock, these last 2 weeks. No one's irreplaceable. I'm just saying, Yock, you need to call me because DJ, I'm not going to say anymore.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.